Now, this is about a game that I believe is out now. It's called Avowed. It might not be out yet, but it is, somebody had an early copy of it, I believe is the case. And it's based on a game company that is now bought out by Microsoft. They had made Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, and those were all right games. I own those games. Well, I thought 1 was a lot better than 2. They're kind of like in the original Baldur's Gate style, top down. Well, this one is a 3D RPG, but it has a lot of woke aspects to it. And someone has took notice that uh, him having played through it, that they really don't care for men in this game. But we'll let the video speak for itself.
Going to do a proper full-length professionally edited video on this game, but after playing this game for about 25 hours I have deemed it not worthy of my time to do a deep dive video. Also, if you can't tell by my voice already, I am sick and sound like crap. And if you can't tell what video game I'm talking about because this video just played after what you watched last and haven't seen the title or the thumbnail, I'm talking about the upcoming game Avowed. And I'm not going to lie, I was very, very excited about this game when it was first announced because it's by the developers of, I think, Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian Games. They're a good developer. But after seeing some of the comments made by the developers of this game, it has left a sour taste in my mouth. So I was going to skip this game entirely. But fortunately for you, somebody gifted me an early copy of this game so that I could warn you. So let's start with the most basic question. Is Avowed a good game? I don't know about good, but it definitely is a game. And it's even more of a game than Dragon Age Veilguard. I mean, this story is pretty much a one-for-one copy of the Dragon Age Veilguard story, just with a different setting. In a nutshell, there's a blight taking over all the land and corrupting people and making them turn violent and attack each other. But you have a connection with an ancient forgotten god who speaks to you in your head and in your dreams. And it's up to you to stop it. Will you let your inner goddess shine, or will you remain a slave to the Empire and the evil patriarch? And you can see where this is going. If your pronouns are he/him, then this is not a game for you. From the start of the game, I felt like I was sitting in on somebody else's Dungeons and Dragons session. No idea where I am, no idea what I'm doing, and don't recognize any of the other characters around me. And what's even stranger is it feels like I'm not welcome in this Dungeons and Dragons session. It feels like I've been invited to play Dungeons and Dragons by a female friend of mine.
Now, we know D&D has been co-opted. I mean, that's clear. And if it's not clear to you, you haven't been keeping up with the news or my videos, because I've got quite a few on it. But this game, we get to an actual gameplay scene of it.
And all the other players are female except for the Dungeon Master, who hates men and is really threatened with your presence there. He's the Discord server.
Okay, this game, to me, it looks modern, but to me, the graphics look muddy. Everything looks like it's formed in clay to some extent. Now, the question is that just the style they go for now, or is it inexperienced developers?
I think it might be the style they're going for. Because there's a lot of games that look like this.
Well, I see a lot of people who make such games, and they plan to have it, full on, near photorealistic, and they end up compromising with a cutesy Disney cartoon look. And I think that comes down to lack of developer skill or lack of developers, whatever the case. They take the easy path, and everybody, all the games coming out have this Disney princess style to it, and everybody's like, oh, these are the games, I like these games, and they get accustomed to them.
Well, speaking for myself, I like some of the cuter games, but that's just me. But I also, it has to have some other quality about it. Like, I can make my character how I want it, but the environment needs to be more realistic.
Well, I understand, they're all stylized in one way or another, but you take World of Warcraft, it has a slight cartoony, cutesy look to it. You take Guild Wars 2, it has a more stylized but less cutesy look. So if you see what I'm saying here, I'm just tired of this cutesy-fied, and especially when they make them like dwarfs, make every character like a dwarf. I would just like to see some more semi-realistic styles. It can be stylized, just not cutesy or dwarfed.
Yeah.
Server owner, and all the girls are his little kittens. And this is not an exaggeration. There's not a single important male character in the game. All the male characters in the
Now, I don't see overly cutesy or dwarf characters in this, but what I do see is the style and the way they stylized it is rather ugly. You'll see it when you start noticing characters, especially like this teal colored one. That and to me, in my own opinion, the graphics look muddy.
game are either weak, snaky, pathetic, or just gay. The very first male character you meet is some sort of scared little furry guy who ends up tagging along with you through your very first mission, which kind of acts like a tutorial, and then he disappears and you never see him again. The second male character you meet is a Navi knockoff looking blue fella called Kai, who ends up becoming one of your companions. I mean, it is kind of weird that Kai is overtly sexualized in this game. He wears this deep V-cut shirt which shows off his pecs, and he's got bigger breasts than all of the women in the game. But that's not saying much because all of the women in the game have no breasts. At most, it looks like they're dudes that have gone through about 6 months of HRT. But I digress. Kai wears like a necklace that has a carving of a whale on it, and I'll get back to that a bit later. And the third male character you meet is the ambassador for the Empire, who is of the Adirian race, which is basically the white race. I honestly think it's supposed to be a play on the word Aryan. And of course, the Adirian race, or Adirian race, or whatever you call it, they are the bad guys. The white guys in this are the bad guys. Just a warning, if you choose this race, you will get an earful of just how bad your people are. You will be called colonizers and racists, but in terminology fitting for the game, at least. Anyway, the ambassador is a spineless, snobbish bastard who cowers to his superior, the Inquisitor, a badass female called Ludwig. No, I do not remember most of these characters' names because they're very forgettable, but her name does sound something like Ludwig. The fourth male character, or at least I think it's a male character, the gender on this person is very ambiguous, is an assassin who failed to kill you. You eventually track him down and confront him, and are then given the option to either spare him and forgive him or kill him. Being the good Christian that I am, I decided to spare him and forgive him because he did seem remorseful after all. Oh, I almost forgot. One of the guys that helped you track down this assassin is a dwarf called Marius. He's a...
Can you see the muddy look in this shot here?
Yeah, I see it. That's what I was noticing on the other clips of this video.
So now you see what I mean. It all looks
Yeah.
rather muddied.
Yeah.
It's not crisp. I mean, besides the stylization, which I don't care for, it looks muddy. It's not crisp or anything like that.
Yeah.
Now here it says, I hate to see games belittling men. I mean, if it was a woman, they would have screamed sexist. Yeah, men don't really matter to society. And unfortunately, that's usually the case whether you're talking to men or women, because men have this ultra macho attitude. It's like, oh, you're just crying and being a little bitch. And women have kind of the same attitude, unfortunately.
Well, these days, the roles have reversed. It's a lot of the men that act like the women used to, and now the women are acting more like a male.
Well, yeah, there's some truth to that, but what we're speaking on specifically is they dump on men in everything. Everything, commercials, TV shows, games, and if you speak up about it, then everybody yells, oh, you're just crying and you're just a little bitch. Because, oh, you got to be a macho man and not have feelings and not give a fuck and let them shit all over you. And I'm going, wait. Don't that make you a pussy if you're taking that, not saying anything? That's my take on it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
Badass tracker who beats up 6 guys at a bar, and he seems kind of cool. That is, of course, until you learn a bit more about him later in the game, but we'll get to that. The next male character you meet is the leader of the Animancers. And the Animancers is like the more accurate version of their Necromancers. And in this game, the Necromancers are the good guys. But because he's a guy, he is stupid and arrogant and won't listen to the advice of one of the smartest animators in the entire town called Giata. And instead of listening to her, he just exiles her for speaking back to him. This results in the entire town being burnt down by the evil white man. And Giata ends up becoming your third companion or party member. Then you meet the dwarven leaders, and I can't remember if they're husband and wife or brother or sister or whatever, but you have the female one, which is very loyal to the dwarven traditions, and then you have the male, which is ready to sell out his entire dwarven fortress for a bit of gold. You know, us men, we're so sneaky and so snaky. And to be honest, that is about all of the men I can really remember in this game. The two male companions, Kai and Marius, aren't as involved in the story as the two female companions, and their stories really fizzle out and become really lame when you do their companion quests. For instance, Kai, this badass mercenary who's been by your side this entire time, sends you on a quest for him. You see, he's been getting kind of sus, and he's been talking about missing someone. And when you go on a quest, you find out that he misses his old clan leader because they were a ragtag bunch of fellas that went on the craziest quests all across the country. We get drunk together, rough up people together, go treasure hunting. And then in one quest, you go to this clan leader's house because Kai finally has the courage to visit him and visit his memorial. And you find this necklace on his bedside table of an identical carved whale. And you find out that Kai carved this cute little whale figure for him so they could wear this necklace in secret together to confess their undying love for each other. You see, they never got to say it or express it, but deep down inside, they were made for each other. I'm not joking, but I wish I was. Kai is gay.
Are you hearing this shit?
I'm hearing it and I wish I didn't.
Okay, real quick, what's your thoughts on it?
It needs to be burnt with fire. It needs to not exist. This is the kind of crap I keep talking about. If you have to do stuff like this to progress in the game is trash. It's not optional. You have to do these things. You have to go on these quests that are politically driven. That's what this is. And it's garbage.
Identity politics driven.
Yeah. It's garbage. And it shouldn't exist.
Why does your sexuality have to be an identity anyway? Why are you going to wear that around and throw it at people? What, straight people don't do that in general. I mean, some may, but in general, no, they don't. But whereas the other side of the spectrum, they have to beat everybody over the head with gayness.
Through the decades, through the centuries, nobody ever touted their sexuality. It never came up. And gay people back in the day had to stay hidden because they would get beat to death or whatever. Now that was bad, yeah. But this is bad on the other side of it, you know? This is forcing people to do something that they really don't want to do for the sake of pushing their identity politics onto everybody else, and nobody else gives a shit.
I'm going to let this video play a bit more.
Hey, and you just went on a quest so that he could finally come out of the closet. I mean, sweet story and all, but it's not fitting off the character or the scenario. It's like this dungeon master just wrote this up to get the girls to go, oh, I'm sorry, but I had to sideline this party member for the rest of the game because I didn't want him catching feelings for me, poor guy. And they somehow managed to ruin Marius's story too. This tough, take no crap from nobody, smart talking hunter dwarf goes from being a smartass to a depresso espresso in no time flat because he has childhood PTSD. In his quest, you take him back to the dwarven fortress where he reunites with his parents, or I guess it's just like dwarven elders who were there when he was just a little boy when he ran away. And his dwarven elders are very cold and judging. He's like, you get why I ran away now. But then you dig deeper and you learn that he was actually part of some weird religious cult. And you find the old village of his cult to find all the people.
And there it is. They had one, something like trying to meet up with his gay lover, afraid to come out of the closet. And they had the other, a religious nut. So you see what they're getting at here.
they took that as that quest line there.
You take the LGBTQ community, and I wish there was a simpler word for it. There, there is, but it's a word I probably shouldn't say. But anyway, they see any religion as fanatical religion. A lot of people do, but particularly that community. So yeah, they had to take one. I don't know what they're like. Oh yeah, companion, and be like, well, he's afraid of coming out of the closet, and he's got this love of his life, and they're gay lovers, and this other one, well, he's a religious fanatic.
Well, they took this quest line and they did a little digging and through history. And as you know, the viewers may not, but as you know, there was a cult leader by the name of Jim Jones. And what he did, he was a very charismatic religious person. Well, he created a church and he had hundreds of followers. Well, what happened was is I'm paraphrasing here. What happened was is all of his followers drank the Kool-Aid. That's where that saying comes from. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Well, they drank the Kool-Aid and they all ended up dead.
Well, a lot of people that I stream with, I make references, and it's silence, it's just crickets, and I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, they're babies, right? Like they don't get references before the year 2000.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I grew up with references dating back, shit, some of them to like the 1800s.
Yeah.
I don't get why they don't know these older references, but all the time I'm finding myself in a situation where I'm like, oh yeah, that they won't know this, they won't know that, and that takes a good bit of anything I could say and throws it out the window because they won't know of it.
Well,
They'll be like, oh, you're talking about, no, that was like decades after.
yeah. Well, the thing is he was arrested for that, I believe, and a bunch of stuff came out about it and all that kind of thing, and that's where they're getting that from. Is famous. I mean, anybody in the chat can look it up and find who Jim Jones was and all the debauchery that went on in his church. That's not real Christianity. That's fanaticism. And fanaticism does not belong in religion. It just doesn't. And this game in particular, is throwing shade at a whole multitude of religion in general. And that's
Yeah, and he
wrong.
already pointed out one white man that was evil, and then you got a black girl companion after you dealt with him,
Mm-hmm.
and then the teal colored man was afraid to come out of the closet. This game is just so packed full of agendas.
Yeah. It's full of it. It's silly
Except
with it.
and this person was his childhood best friend, and his childhood best friend has caught the blight, so he isn't all there, but he still remembers him, and he recounts the story of them two as little boys being abused by the oh no. So I guess Marius the dwarf is some kind of SA survivor, and then the game hints at that there was some sort of gay childhood romance between the two, because he's like, Tyrion's like, I've never been able to say this before, but I love you. Look, at this point, Avowed isn't a dark fantasy game. It is a young adult novel. Anyway, let's move on to the female characters. And I'm sorry, I do not remember all their names, or actually any of their names. And I don't care enough about these characters to actually open up the video game again and find the names. So I'll just make up names for them, I guess. First female character you meet is a smuggler who says that she was falsely imprisoned. Of course, if you care enough about the law, you can find the guard's diary and read about her, and you find out that she's actually badass and the guards are stupid idiots. Then you meet some noble female commander who basically lays out the game for you, says you have to go meet this ambassador, and she warns you that the ambassador's a stupid guy. She also tells you that the Inquisitor's looking for her, and at this point, she asks you to know the Inquisitor. And one of the options is, oh yes, we were lovers. I thought that was a joke. I've never played any of the Pillar games before, so I just chose, yeah, we used to be lovers. I thought that I would be making a joke. But no, that established that lore in the game that we were past lovers. which is kind of cool because the game now reacts to, oh, you once slept with her, which, I mean, I would take it back if I could, but I just let the story run. I think I've already talked about the Inquisitor. She's like the holy paladin for the human race. And of course, she is tough as nails, very scary, but because she's of the white race, she's very evil. Then you have the second in command to the Inquisitor, which is a female commander, which you can...
Again, we have the evil white.
I have no words for this.
This is just weird. That's all I can say. Yeah, it would be a standard RPG if it wasn't for all the heavy agendas.
Yeah.
Which this person pointed it out, I don't think is a anti-wokester. I think it's just somebody who played the game and it stood out to them, and that's really saying something.
Yeah.
And fight later on in the game or become friends with. And then there's the midget furry cat girl Yatsli, who ends up becoming one of your companions in the game. And if you flirt with her, she's quick to tell you that she has a boyfriend. And we'll get back to that boyfriend later. And then there is the dwarven elder who is loyal to her traditions and to her people, and not a snake who's willing to sell everything out for a bit of gold. And then there is the most powerful archmage in the entire world, who's also a female. Like I said, I don't remember the names. And I'm sure there are more female characters, but I'm 25 hours of the way through the game and I feel like it's about to come to a close. So yeah, all the important characters in the game are female. The ones that move the story forward are female. And the game even really tries to push that you should listen to your female companions over your male companions. Let me give you an example of this. There's a very important choice later in the game that you have to make. The Inquisitor will give you the option of destroying the ruins to slow down the spread of the Blight. The Archmage will offer an ultimatum. Instead of destroying the Holy Land and these ruins, she can use magic to cleanse this area of the Blight, but at a cost, and the cost is human life. She says anywhere between 12 to 200 people might die, but you're making a small sacrifice for the greater good. Obviously, I went with the Inquisitor's option of destroying the ruins to stop the Blight from spreading and those infected from coming out of it. When I got back to camp, I got an earful of listening to that stupid colonizing white bitch, and the game made it very clear that I had made the wrong choice. So I reloaded the save and went back and chose the Archmage's option, which is basically genocide. When I went back to camp that night, the guys were very upset.
I just need a quick break from that to do this. And also to say this.
You are gay!
Now I'm gonna try to get through this fucking video.
At me and they're like, bro, this is not the way. You don't get to play God and choose who lives and dies. And I'm thinking to myself, right, I agree with these guys. No, they're right. I made the wrong decision. And the game reaffirms me in my decision, saying I needed to make a sacrifice for the greater good, like cracking an egg to make an omelet or something like that, and saying basically the guys don't know what they're talking about. You should not listen to guys' opinion in this game. If there's anything you know from playing this game for 20 hours, is the guys are all stupid. I've been yapping for 15 minutes about this game, and I'm about to wrap it up. I just want to tell you about two small quests that had me literally on the floor rolling and laughing. So right after choosing genocide, the Archmage looks at Yatsli, the little furry, who's a big fan of the Archmage, and she offers her a job opportunity to study under her and become her apprentice. And she's really excited about that. Now, she later at camp asks you for advice. Should she take the Archmage up on her offer? Now, let me remind you that the world is falling apart. People are dying. The lands are being infected. And she has a boyfriend or husband. We also basically Thanos snapped half of everybody out of existence to use them as weed killer. So her boyfriend is probably very lonely right now and has lost all of his friends. And you do get the option of saying, wait, and leave your boyfriend in a time like this? Of course, that is the wrong option to choose. You should choose support her career and encourage her to go and study under the Archmage who just killed nearly everyone.
Okay, so this game has options, but they make it very clear you chose the wrong option and you're catching hell for it, or whatever the case may be. So there is no doubt there's a strong agenda here. I mean, I don't have to say that. It's all over the place. It's one big agenda. Yep, the game is stupid.
That's what I was going to say. This game is stupid.
And I feel it's my duty for however few viewers I have to get the word out there about just how stupid this fucking game is.
It's
So on that,
beyond.
I'm gonna finish the video out.
Another quest in the game where you stumble upon an orc who is 10 feet tall and he has a little girl captive. You go up and you talk to the orc and you go, "Why do you have this little girl captive?" And he's like, "She attacked me. She's a 5 foot something white girl who sells flowers. He's a 10 foot tall orc built like a wall who has a weapon called the limb remover, which is one of the most powerful weapons in the game so far." Anyway, he gives you an option. He says, "Look, I'm not feeling well. If you go on a fetch quest for me and get these ingredients for me, then I can take the medicine and feel better, and I'll let the girl go. If you don't do this for me, she dies." Two things come to my mind. First, he's a massive orc. I'm not going to give him something that's going to make him stronger. Second of all, he kidnapped a little white girl. He's a monster. He deserves to die. And of course, I was getting fed up with this game at this point. I didn't want to go on another fetch quest, so I just killed him. After killing the orc and saving this girl's life, she comes at me with what I can only assume is a lecture about racism. She makes me feel bad about not saving his life, saying that violence was not the choice here. You see, orcs are misunderstood and his head wasn't right because he had a tummy ache. So crap, according to the game, I committed some type of hate crime. I think you guys have heard enough of Avowed. By this point, you probably know that I would not recommend this game to you. Maybe for your wives or your girlfriends, but be warned, this game might be a gateway drug that leads them into investing in healing crystals. This is not a game for guys. And I just wanted to make this video and get it out there as soon as possible, just to do you guys a solid and warn you before you play it this weekend. Anyway.
Not a game for guys. I would say it's not a game for anyone except for, oh, I hate to say it, the LGBTQIA plus community. Oh, the queers. I mean, can't we just say, skip all that shit and just say the queers?
Oh my goodness. I want off of this ride. I don't want to be on this ride no more.